I recently had knee surgery and I've been going in for several follow up appointments. And it seems like every time I go in for a follow up appointment, they ask me these same 15 questions they asked me last time because why would that automate and populate? Something about HIPAA, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I usually get frustrated, but once in a while, I don't mind it so much because I like answering some of the questions. Why? Because I've developed some better healthy habits later in my life than I had earlier in my life. So when the questionnaire says, "Hey, are you on any prescription medications?" I get to check. Nope. And if it asks me, "Have you had any additional surgeries or hospitalizations?" Sure haven't. What about a smoker? Are you a smoker, Charles? Absolutely not. Then it gets to the question, do you drink more than once or twice a week? And, I lie. These are all bad habits that a lot of us have developed, myself as well. I have a ton of bad habits that I have to continually figure out how to break. And a bad habit, once ingrained and once wired into us, kind of sticks around forever until you remove certain cues or rewire it. For example, I've turned into my dad. At night, 8:30, sit down on the couch, or rather the chair with the ottoman, and try to watch TV with the family, something usually wonderful like The Voice, God help us. And I'll pass out pretty quickly because, dad stuff. I remember my dad would do that as we were kids, and I would try to change the channel, and he instinctively knew, and he'd wake up, "Oh, Tom Watson's on the 18th hole, put it back." How he did that, I didn't know. Now I do. That's called being dad tired. But either way, it sucks, and it's not a family friendly thing to do. Other things, I was bragging about my health and wellness. When I open the pantry to help make dinner, if I see the kids' junk food there, the Pringles or the Goldfish or the Tabasco flavored cheeses, man, those are good. I can't help but grab one or two. In my business, bad habits are me opening my calendar, which is a great habit, but it also automatically opens my email. And I can't help. I got to peek sometimes and then I'm off track. Other bad habits, you might have in your business is if you've delegated a task to someone who is quite capable, but then you can't help but check in on them and then tell them how to do the task over and over. Or better yet, if you're one of these folks that can't really keep a lot of savings in the account because it kind of burns a hole in your pocket and you suddenly think of 15 more things you need to buy with that money, that becomes a bad habit. So, how do we break these bad habits, not just in our personal life, but just as or more importantly in our business? You have to be able to first and foremost recognize the cue that causes the bad habit. And then you have to change the cue or change the reward with it, or sometimes even change the environment. A sad but very true story, when Vietnam vets came back from Vietnam, about 15% of them were addicted to heroin, which sounds awful, but if you're in the jungle fighting in nonstop unknown conditions and fighting for your life, I get it. And there, if you're around other people that are doing it, that whatever that can make sense. What they found out though is these guys, as they returned, even though they had all these programs to help them off heroin, about 95% were able to break that habit within the first year. And heroin is one of the most addictive things on planet Earth. They often compare that to smoking, which sounds crazy. You think heroin would be worse? Smoking's rough. What changed for them? Well, first and foremost, the cue in the environment. Well, the cue being in war, having that stress, in some cases, even having that downtime and being around other people that do it. And then completely and utterly changing your environment made all of the difference in the world to help these guys break one of the worst possible habits you could possibly have. So, what does that mean for us? Changing your cue, changing your environment. For me, I no longer sit on that same chair with the ottoman to watch these god awful TV shows with my family. I'll sit on the ottoman half the time and sit straight up, or at least I'll do that for as long as I can stand it. Can't fall asleep doing that. When I go to the pantry now, all of the snacks that I would normally get are now placed behind bins. It's still there, and I still know it's there, but it's additional friction. So if I want those Tabasco flavored Cheez-Its, I got to make a lot of extra effort to get to it. In my business, whether it's in my full time job or in my with the video explainer business or the business coaching business on the side, I have now figured out a way to open my calendar and it not open my email, which is fantastic because I don't need to see my email. For you, if your bad habit is constantly checking in on something you've recently delegated, you need to give yourself a time frame, X number of hours or X number of days before you check in. Or better yet, have whoever you're checking in with be proactive and send you a very short but mini report, 2 bullet points of what's going on to satisfy the need for you to jump in and fix something. And if you have to spend any extra money you have, need to change the queue that has you checking your checking account. And if that means deleting banking apps from your phone or finding a different way to satisfy that curiosity, then do so. All of these little cues and all of these little ways that we can break the bad habits and replace the bad habits gives us a chance to do something better, to do something different. Relying on willpower alone doesn't cut it. And as far as the bad habit of checking the box about how many times we may or may not have drinks per week, maybe I need to end the habit of buying wine by the box instead of the bottle.